Welcome to Kilimanjaro National Park. You are now at the foot of the highest mountain in Africa, snow-capped, and world's highest freestanding volcano, the Kilimanjaro. Climbing to the top, which is far up into the sky, is a lifetime experience that no one can forget. The park offers a range of tourism activities including mountain climbing, paragliding, mountain cycling, crater camping, Mount Peak, technical climb, Shira Plateau day visit and nature walk in montane forest. Kilimanjaro National Park is located in Tanzania along the northern border shared with Kenya. It covers an area of 652 square miles, 1,688 square kilometers, which includes the montane forest that surrounds Mount Kilimanjaro. Mount Kilimanjaro is one of the 7 natural wonders of Africa and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Kilimanjaro National Park is home to Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the tallest mountain in Africa and the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. It reaches a maximum height of 19,341 feet, 5,895 m, at Uhuru Peak. Uhuru Peak is part of the Kibo cone, which is one of 3 volcanic cones found on the mountain. Mount Kilimanjaro and the surrounding national park area is unique compared to most national parks because almost all ecosystems are accounted for from the area between the base and summit. The summit provides for an Arctic ecosystem with a trek up the mountain, delivering visitors through cultivated land, rainforest, heath, moorland, and alpine desert. Mount Kilimanjaro is the easiest climb of the 7 summits. The 7 summits include the tallest mountain from each of the 7 continental regions. Accordingly, Mount Kilimanjaro is the most frequently climbed mountain as well. There are 7 different official routes up the mountain. The Meringue route, which includes shared sleeping huts, is considered the easiest and the most common. Failure to acclimate to the altitude is the most common reason that people do not reach the summit. The youngest person to climb the mountain was 7 years old and the oldest was 89 years old. Wildlife is not abundant in this area, however, elephants, leopards, and buffalo may be seen in the montane forest. These sightings are not something to anticipate with a climb up Mount Kilimanjaro. One of the fun wildlife sightings is the western black and white colobus monkeys as they jump from tree to tree. Mount Kilimanjaro is one of the 7 natural wonders of Africa and is affectionately known as the rooftop of Africa. There are multiple summits on the mountain, with Uhuru Peak serving as the highest point. The mountain earned its wonder status from being the tallest mountain in Africa and the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. The summit of Mount Kilimanjaro occurs at 19,341 feet, 5,895 m, which is known as Uhuru Peak and part of the Mount volcanic cone. There are 2 other volcanic cones known as Mount at 16,893 feet, 5,149 m, and Shira at 13,140 feet, 4,005 m. Kibo is dormant and has the possibility of a future eruption. However, Mount and Shira are both extinct. Kibo is also the larger of the 3 volcanic cones, stretching across 15 miles, 24 kilometers. The climb up Mount Kilimanjaro is an amazing experience even if you are one of the climbers who does not reach the summit because of altitude sickness or possible exhaustion. Amazing views of the surrounding plains await travelers along the way up the mountain. A trek up to the summit allows a traveler to experience almost every type of ecological system in one single adventure. Ecosystems include cultivated land, rainforest, heath, moorland, alpine desert, and an Arctic summit. When it comes to talking about trails, really you are talking about routes up the mountain. There are 7 different routes that provide opportunities for the ascent to the summit. Southern routes, Meringue, Makami, and Umwe are the 3 routes that ascend from the south. Western routes, Lemasho, Shira, and Northern Circuit are the 3 routes that ascend from the west. Northern route, there is only one route that ascends from the north, known as Ronge. The Meringue route, affectionately called the Coca-Cola route, is one of the more popular routes for the traditional visitor. It features one of the more gradual slopes as well as provides sleeping huts along the way. It is the oldest and most established route. Approximately 25,000 people attempt the ascent each year. Altitude sickness and exhaustion are the primary roadblocks to a successful climb. Around 66% of those who attempt the trek up Mount Kilimanjaro are successful. Kilimanjaro National Park protects the tallest mountain in Africa and the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. It is one of the 7 natural wonders of Africa and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The park also protects the habitats for species such as the colobus monkey. The Tanzanian government established the national park to ensure that this natural wonder was left its pristine and majestic nature for future generations. Kilimanjaro National Park is a jewel in the crown of Tanzania, and one of its most visited sites. Learn more about this important and extraordinary mountain park, like where exactly it is and what animals call it home. Kilimanjaro National Park in northern Tanzania is a unique and surprising place. And we're not just saying that. For starters, it's home to the highest mountain in Africa, 5,895 m, yet that mountain rises up out of a vast, relatively flat plain. Most iconic mountains are a part of massive ranges, like how Mt. Everest is part of the Himalayas and Mt. Aconcagua part of the Andes. The reason for this is that Mt. Kilimanjaro was once a volcano. This allows it to stand tall in a flat region, letting you enjoy unimpeded views of it from far away, even in Kenya. Mount Kilimanjaro, Africa's tallest mountain, is a whopping 5,895 meters 19,341 feet above sea level. It's also the tallest freestanding mountain in the world, standing 4,900 meters 16,076 feet above its plateau base. Think about that, that's 5 vertical kilometers of straight-up mountain. As with most things of immensity, you cannot fully appreciate the scale of the mountain from afar. It's only when you're on the mountain itself, taking step after step to climb to the summit, that its wild size comes fully home to you. Kilimanjaro National Park is located in the northeast of Tanzania, in eastern Africa. You can see it in the top right corner in the map below. The quickest way to reach Kilimanjaro National Park is to fly into Kilimanjaro International Airport. The drive to the park from the airport is 75 kilometers and takes about 90 minutes. You could also opt to drive there from Julius Nyerere International Airport, Tanzania's main airport. The airport is just outside of Dar es Salaam, the country's largest city, which sits on the coast in the east of the country. Dar es Salaam is over 500 kilometers south of Kilimanjaro National Park, and takes about 9 hours to reach by car. Alternatively, you could fly into Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi, Kenya. The drive south is just 200 kilometers, but you will, of course, have to get a Kenyan visa and deal with border control when entering Tanzania. Kilimanjaro has plenty of exciting wildlife, especially as it has 5 different ecological bands, so it offers a few different environments for different types of animals. In the lower region, there are elephants, leopards, giraffes, buffaloes, hyenas, and various antelopes. But this isn't the area where Kilimanjaro climbers walk, so we caution you not to expect to see such game on your trek. The ecological zone that's the most exciting for animal spotting is the rainforest band. Here, the biggest highlight is the monkeys, particularly the unusual black and white colobus, see pic below. Also look out for dainty duikers and klip springers. And keep your eyes peeled for the 3-horned chameleon, or Jackson's chameleon. The bird life in the rainforest is spectacular, and you can hope to see beauties and rarities like heartlobes turacos, silvery-cheeked hornbills, African pittas, malachite sunbirds, and African pygmy kingfishers. Mount Kilimanjaro in Kilimanjaro National Park is the highest mountain in Africa, and it's located between latitude 2050 and 3010 E, about 330 kilometers south of the equator, northern Tanzania. Its size is 1,688 square kilometers and comprises of 2 dormant Kibo 5,895 ma.m.s.l and Moanza 5,149 ma.m.s.l and 1 extinct Chira 3,962 ma.m.s.l volcanoes respectively. It is the world's highest freestanding mountains that rise on the undulating surrounding plain that averages around 1,000 m above sea level. It was declared as a national park in 1973, officially opened for tourism in 1977, declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1987 and Natural Wonder of Africa in 2013. The park headquarters is at Marangu, about 44 kilometers from Moshi town and 86 kilometers from Kilimanjaro International Airport. Quick facts about Kilimanjaro National Park. Size of the national park, 75,353 ha. Size of the surrounding forest reserve, 107,828 ha. Mt Kilimanjaro and its forests were declared a game reserve in 1910 by the German colonial government. In 1921 the area was gazetted as a forest reserve, and in 1973 the mountain above the tree line, 2700 m, was reclassified as a national park. The national park also protects some of the montane forest, and 6 access corridors through the forest belt below. Kilimanjaro National Park was opened for public access in 1977. In 1987 the park was inscribed as a World Heritage Site for its natural value. The park is administered by the Tanzania National Parks Authority. Kilimanjaro National Park, covering an area of some 75,575 ha, protects the largest freestanding volcanic mass in the world and the highest mountain in Africa, rising 4877 m above surrounding plains to 5895 m at its peak. With its snow-capped peak, the Kilimanjaro is a superlative natural phenomenon, standing in isolation above the surrounding plains overlooking the savanna. Criterion 7. Mount Kilimanjaro is one of the largest volcanoes in the world. It has 3 main volcanic peaks, Kibo, montane, and Shira. With its snow-capped peak and glaciers, it is the highest mountain in Africa. The mountain has 5 main vegetation zones from the lowest to the highest point: lower slopes, montane forest, heath and moorland, alpine desert, and summit. The whole mountain, including the montane forest belt, is very rich in species, in particular mammals, many of them endangered species. For this combination of features, but mostly its height, its physical form and snow cap, and its isolation above the surrounding plains, Mount Kilimanjaro is considered an outstanding example of a superlative natural phenomenon. Kilimanjaro National Park, established in 1973, initially comprised the whole of the mountain above the tree line and 6 forest corridors stretching down through the montane forest belt. At the time of inscription in 1987, the main pressures affected mostly the forest reserve, which acted as a buffer zone to the park. The World Heritage Committee recommended extending the national park to include more areas of montane forest. Following a 2005 extension, the national park includes the whole of the mountain above the tree line as well as the natural forest, montane forest, which was under Kilimanjaro Forest Reserve, and as such fulfills the criteria of integrity. It is important that the extension of the national park be reflected in the boundaries of the property. The wildlife of the property is important to the experience of Kilimanjaro, although the property is not inscribed in relation to biodiversity criteria. Pressures on elephant, buffalo, and antelope, and logging in the forest reserve area, were noted as integrity concerns at the time of inscription. The park is connected to Amboseli National Park, however corridors to Arusha National Park and Tsavo National Park have been encroached, impacting on wildlife migration. Kilimanjaro National Park is protected under national legislation as a national park, and a management plan is in place. The property requires an effective and managing organization, including sufficient well-equipped ranger presence to be able to carry out surveillance and implementation of the management plan. A key management issue is maintaining the aesthetic quality of the property as a spectacular natural site. Protecting its visual integrity and sustaining its natural integrity are key management issues. Key viewpoints to the property also need to be protected, including from Arusha and Amboseli, where the most famous views of the property can be seen. An effective program of research and monitoring of the property is also required. Threats to the property include increasing and cumulative stress from sources such as adjacent land uses, downstream effects of air and water pollution, invasive species, fire, and climate change. The glaciers of the property are vulnerable to retreat, and are cited as a feature of particular vulnerability to global climate change. The impacts from these threats need to be closely monitored and minimized. Tourism poses a significant threat, and careful planning of related infrastructure and access development is required. Human pressure on the property needs to be managed, which can result otherwise in illegal harvest of its resources, encroachments to park boundary, and blockage of migratory routes and dispersal areas. Education programs and integration of park management with all involved partners and stakeholders, including the surrounding rural population, is essential. In the early 20th century, Mount Kilimanjaro and the adjacent forests were declared a game reserve by the German colonial government. In 1921, it was designated a forest reserve. In 1973, the mountain above the tree line, about 2,700 meters, 8,900 feet, was reclassified as a national park. The park was declared a World Heritage Site by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization in 1987. In 2005, the park was expanded to include the entire montane forest, which had been part of the Kilimanjaro Forest Reserve. A variety of animals can be found in the park. Above the timberline, the Kilimanjaro tree hyrax, the gray duiker, and rodents are frequently encountered. The bushbuck and red duiker appear above the timberline in places. Cape buffaloes are found in the montane forest and occasionally in the moorland and grassland. Elephants can be found between the Namwai and Tarikia rivers and sometimes occur at higher elevations. In the montane forests, blue monkeys, eastern black and white colubuses, bush babies, and leopards can be found. Thank you for watching this video.